What's up, Rush fans? Welcome to episode 90 of Rush Roundtable, where we're looking for the most balanced Rush albums. We're looking for all killer, no filler. Enjoy the episode.
Hello there, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Rush Roundtable. Tonight we are talking about what we think are the most balanced Rush albums. So we've each chosen one, and we're gonna describe why we think they are the most balanced, and kind of what we're thinking as a definition of most balanced is all killer, no filler. So a bunch of solid tracks and no stinkers, I guess. So each person will describe what they think, and we'll let Mark go first.
All right. Hey, thanks, Ryan. It was a pretty easy choice for me. I initially thought about A Farewell to Kings. That was the second Rush album I purchased. The first one was Permanent Waves. And, Closer to the Heart was the song that drew me to it. And, then I discovered, Cygnus X, book one, and just every song on the album to me is a killer song. So I think it fits the definition. It's all killer and no filler, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I can absolutely agree with that. I think Xanadu is a masterpiece, a work of art.
Yeah.
I think it's probably up there in terms of top 3 pieces of music they ever wrote.
Cinderella Man, penned by Getty. I think Alex had some input into it, but that was a fascinating song to me because I discovered later it was inspired by a Frank Capra movie. Same director that did what's the Jimmy Stewart thing? They show it at Christmas all the time.
I'm not sure, but
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I
think the only argument you're going to get from anybody is that's not killer is Madrigal. But if it's, I just want to state to those that may make that argument, Madrigal serves the purpose that it's there for. It's a cool down song. It's very awesome for a cool down song. For one of their slowest songs and shortest songs, it's awesome. It doesn't rock. It's not some heavy rocking song, but it serves its purpose, and it's, in my opinion, it's a pretty good song. So.
Yeah, and the album too was also interesting to me because I guess Neil started incorporating bells and other percussion into his kit, and I think that was the first album that Getty started doing some keyboard stuff with the Mini Moog, and I think Alex added the Taurus pedal as well. So they were, stepping up their game with that album.
Yeah, I think instrumentally, A Farewell to Kings I think in the progression of Rush, I think A Farewell to Kings was one of their most experimental albums when trying to find their sound. But even through all that, it's super balanced, with using synthesizers as accents. I think it's really highlighted in tunes like Madrigal, where there's just the little high-pitched synthesizer going in the background, and then during Cygnus X1 Book 1, there's just the droning parts while during the instrumental. It's never the big focus, but I feel like every bit of instrumental on that album kind of meshes together really well.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Definitely agree with all those points, my friends. And I think that Cygnus really does lead well into Hemispheres and some of the other epics that they end up doing in the future. But all around, fantastic choice, Mark.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Anyone else have anything they want to add? All right. So for my choice, I chose the debut album because I think the entire album sucks, and it's balanced because it completely sucks. No, I'm kidding, of course. I'm kidding. I don't think the debut album sucks. I'm just not a huge fan of it. So yeah, on many roundtables, I have said in the past that I think Power Windows is the most balanced Rush record. I've said that so much that I'm going to divert and switch that up here. I've picked another one that I think is just about as balanced. And that record is Clockwork Angels. Now, let me address the elephant in the room first. All killer, no filler. No filler, BU2B2. I've also been on record quite often saying that this is filler. So when I thought of this record, I think other than BU2B2, I think every single song on here is killer. I mean, they all rock. There's not one bad song. There's not one standout song. There are a few that were singles. Caravan and BU2B came out prior to the album's release, and then Headlong Flight came out, I think, a year or two later as a single. Right. Even though they came out as singles, I don't think they necessarily stand above anything else. Clockwork Angels, The Anarchist, Carney's, Halo Effect, Seven Cities of Gold, The Wreckers, Wish Them Well in the Garden, all are absolutely killer tunes. BU2B2, I listened to it today as almost as if it was a prelude to Wish Them Well, because I've kind of been hooked on Wish Them Well, and I wanted to see how it flowed. I haven't listened to this record from top to bottom in a while, and I wanted to see how BU2B2 flowed into Wish Them Well, and it almost seems like a prelude to that. It almost feels as if those two songs should have just been merged together and been one song. And that being said, I almost feel like BU2B2 isn't really a track. It's there for the concept record, and it's actually more listenable than you might think. It's not something you're going to, open your phone or in your car, just go and purposely select BU2B2, but it serves its purpose similar to like what we discussed with Madrigal and Farewell to Kings. And for the purpose that it serves, I think it's pretty good. Standalone, you're not going to willingly listen to it, but in the grand scheme of things, in terms of the concept album, it's fine. But yeah, just looking at all these tracks on this record, some of the popular ones are the singles, I guess, Caravan, BU2B, and Headlong Flight, but there are some beloved tracks on here like The Anarchist, Carney's, Seven Cities of Gold, and The Wreckers. And then who doesn't love The Garden? I mean, The Garden is quite honestly right up there with Xanadu, and I think one of the most beautiful pieces they've ever written. So I think this is one of the best records they wrote, which is rare, being the last. But yeah, super balanced. Not one track that stands out above the rest. They're all just solid tracks, and I think it's all killer, no filler. What do you guys think?
I don't know about you, man. I have BU2B like 4 times in my workout playlist.
Well, I don't have a workout playlist, so
no, I'm joking. But yeah, what you said about BU2B2, how it thinking of it as an intro to Wish Them Well. I was reading the lyrics as you were talking about that, and honestly, I feel like that's really good, like to show the progression of the main character in the story. And how he's like starting to change all his beliefs around, and then Wish Them Well is that kind of like the ultimate idea of, oh, my beliefs have changed, whatever, wish your enemies well, whatever. And then, as I said with the Farewell to Kings, instrumentally super balanced. I think this is one of the best performances Rush ever put on. Just everything about it's perfect. I love all the instrumentation. I love all the bass lines from it. But yeah, I really like thinking about it now, even with the concept sense of like a story progression. I still think that the album is really balanced out when it comes to sonics, lyrics, and all that other stuff.
it's an hour and 6 minutes too, which is a lot to
It
digest.
is, yeah.
But I think, there's a lot of I don't know what the single word is for this, but the songs differ in sound, um, in terms of in length. I mean, like you've got Halo Effect, that's 3 minutes. You've got Clockwork Angel, which is 7 minutes and 31 seconds. Headlong Flight, 7 minutes and 19 seconds. The Garden, 6 minutes and 59 seconds. It's a wide range of sound and how the songs progress. The songs are very different from each other, but that being said, they all rock. They all rock.
Yeah, you can tell they're really like cut from the same cloth.
Right.
Like everything, like it sounds, that album, I don't think Clockwork Angel sounds like any other Rush album. Like I know there was the episode of like a few weeks ago, or whenever this album whenever this comes out, a few weeks ago, that was songs that could have gone on different albums. Personally, I don't think any song from Clockwork Angels could have gone anywhere else.
Yes,
even disregarding the lyrical themes, if we're talking just sonics, I don't think that any tune from Clockwork Angels could have gone anywhere else, because it's that album's signature sound.
Right.
No, it's extremely like cohesive and all just fits so perfectly together and flows from one to the other. And BU2B2, yes, it's a short song, and maybe stand alone, you think, it doesn't really like matter or carry any weight. But if you look at like the full story, and for any of you guys that have read the book, you'll agree with me with this, but it's absolutely needed, because it's that like transition piece in the storyline for the young man that's just kind of going on through this journey in life. So even though it's short, it serves its purpose and it completely flows together. And you guys all know I love Clockwork Angels. Favorite, ultimate best concept album. And even though each song is different, like it's just super cohesive. And it's just absolutely amazingly flows together. So I agree with Ryan's choice.
All killer, no filler.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Ryder, you're up.
All right. So when picking my album, I was looking for something lyrical, like basically everything I've been bringing up as I've been sharing my thoughts. Looking for lyrical balance, looking for sonic balance, and all sorts of that stuff. Like I want to make sure that the vibe of each track is evenly balanced. There's energetic songs and there's like slower paced songs, like more experimental tracks. And I think one album that really does this well in both sounds and especially in theme is Counterparts, even in the theme of balance and having two halves making a whole. The songs in this one, they're really punchy. This was coming off of Presto, and they wanted to really get back into the rock sound. Getty started using the jazz and the Sans amp, and everything was just amped up to 11. But in doing that, they also were able to take it back and like even strip it down in some cases. Songs like Nobody's Hero, The Speed of Love, and Double Agents, and even Cold Fire, they kind of pull it back a little bit. Not in like musical genius. Like this record's incredible musically. Musical genius, yeah. But it's like they're pulling it back in the sense of like switching it out from like straight aggression to showing like a little bit more intricate parts and emotions in this album, especially Cold Fire, because that song's been cited as being like super intimate, and it needed to be like just right for what it was. But it's counterbalanced by the aggression on this album. Animate, Stick It Out, Cut to the Chase, I would even argue. Those tracks, they amp it up, but there's always the counterbalance of those more chilled out tunes. And I think it really culminates perfectly with Everyday Glory, because that's like, just the sonics, lyrical theming, and just everything about that track, it really just closes the book perfectly on Counterparts and just the body as a whole and the theme of it. And that's why I think Counterparts is one of the most balanced albums. It's just because I feel like everything is so equally balanced out. I don't know if that was intentional from the guys or not when making an album all about literally counterparts, but I don't know. I just think it's the strongest balanced Rush album, in my opinion.
I can feel your presence in the silence that we share. I was that of course is a Rush pun from Speed of Love. I just wanted to state, yeah, I mean, I can totally agree with you, Ryder. I think this album's, what I was doing was pulling up the track listing here real quick, to see if there's anything that you didn't touch on that I could add to this. And just, yeah, you've got Animate, Stick It Out, and Cut to the Chase, which are probably three of the heaviest songs on this record right at the top. But that doesn't mean that it's top heavy, which is like what we talked about last week.
Yeah.
It's, you've got songs like Nobody's Hero, like you said, The Speed of Love, Cold Fire. They're kind of cool down songs, but Alien Shore, Between Sun and Moon.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's all, that's what I mean. Like, it's not like everything is all like this half of the album's aggressive, this half of the album's chilled out. It's all perfectly counterbalanced. Like there's moments for it to breathe and to cool down a little bit, but still explore the idea of counterparts and stuff like that. And that's why I really appreciate it, because it's not like every other song. It's like hard song, not hard song, not. It's just all spread throughout, and I just think it's perfectly balanced in that sense.
This record's extremely well produced too. Extremely well sounding, extremely well produced. Coming off of, like, I know you said coming off of Presto, they wanted to get more heavy. They have Roll the Bones in between Presto and Counterparts, which is, I guess, a little bit heavier than Presto, but they really ramp it up with Counterparts.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, I feel like this record is the ultimate deep track record, if that makes any sense.
For sure, yeah.
There's a lot of songs on here that are considered deep tracks, and they're all, like, in my mind, they're all kind of like level deep tracks in terms of how good they are. I guess Animate is like the ultimate hit song deep track. Like it's sort of a hit in terms of the catalog. Like it's kind of beloved, but it's also kind of like not popular, if that makes any sense. And then like what you said about Everyday Glory, fantastic closer. A fantastic later years instrumental. Leave that thing alone. So the balance is,
perfect. It's a record with a lot of really like good, like meaty songs on it. Yeah. And like the first three, Animate, Stick It Out, Cut to the Chase are like really driven and like really, really heavy. And then it kind of like slows down, and Everyday Glory is just like the perfect wrap up. So I agree with Ryder that like the balance between like the heaviness and little lightness is just absolutely perfect. And
the only song I sort of thought was an odd song on there is Double Agent. I like the song, but it's sort of different,
It's very mysterious, very like suspenseful. Reminds me of like detective noir kind of movie.
Right.
Getty described it on the Counterpart store when he introduced the song as a song that is
a song of a different color.
See, I heard it as, this is a song that can be described as a bit demented.
A bit demented, yeah.
And it's true, but it rocks. Once you get by the spoken word, you'll really begin to love the song, I think.
I think Double Agent is really cool because, it bounces between the heavier and the more like not chilled out parts, but it strips it back a little bit. But I think Double Agent is one of the best cuts on the album just because of how it like deconstructs the theme a little bit more. Like my favorite line from the song, well, one of my favorites is like, my angels and my demons at war.
There's your balance right there.
Exactly. That's your balance.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. 100% agree. All right. Well, I will say that we were going to let Kira go first, as we always let ladies go first, but she wanted to go last. So from first to last, you are up.
Well, hi guys. It's been a while since I've been on. How is everyone today? Good to see you.
Balance.
All right. So this one was kind of a challenge because really there's no one definition of what balanced is. And to be honest, like we've discussed here, so many albums can fit this definition depending on what your definition is, and everyone has their own little personal preferences and their little opinions. This was definitely a bit challenging, but I like a challenge. So I did a lot of thinking, a lot of thought, a lot of pondering. And to me, like Ryan said, the definition of like a balanced Rush album is something with a lot of really good like hit jams. And there's really no filler, no extras, no throwaways, that there's a lot of variety, but it has like the perfect balance between. So for my choice, I picked Permanent Waves. This is partially because I am on a Permanent Waves kick. So I am sorry, you guys. I am just totally hooked on the album right now, totally biased. But to be honest, let's first just remark that Permanent Waves is just all solid gems. Like, come on. All the songs are completely solid. I really, really like how quite a bit of this album is like high energy. Like when you first start, like Spare the Radio and like Free Will, really driving, really high energy, totally iconic Rush songs, especially Alex's solo and Free Will, and Eddie's bass lines are fantastic. But then you go from that to Jacob's Ladder, which is still kind of high energy, kind of on the same tone. It's a little bit toned down, a little bit different. And then you go to Entree New into different strings. And those are a little bit softer tones, a little bit lighter tones, not really as heavy. But I think that they perfectly balance out the high energy of Aspirative Radio, Free Will, and even Jacob's Ladder. And then from there, I love the fade out of different strings into the beginning of Natural Science, you know, with the imagery of like the water rippling and everything like that. So I think that this album all around, even though different strings is kind of underrated, I think that every song on this album is just a complete solid gem, and all of it really goes well together. And it's a really good transition from the high energy songs to the lower energy songs. And then that beginning of Natural Science, and Natural Science is just like, bam, it's a total masterpiece. So I think just all around this album is super well balanced and super cohesive and super thorough. Absolutely love it. So yeah, I think it's one of Rush's best and most balanced albums. What do you guys think? Tell me.
Yeah, when thinking about Permanent Waves, I kind of think of it as almost like an impossible record. Like, because this was at the moment when Rush like started to think about adapting like a more commercial friendly tone. I wouldn't say like thinking of adapting it in that sense, but just like by nature of what they were listening to, like more reggae coming through, like they cited that a lot coming in, but being able to counterbalance those songs with the proggier songs. So you go from what Spirit of Radio, and in some instances I would even argue different strings, to Jacob's Ladder and Natural Science. And like somehow through the instrumentation is what I really think it is. It sounds like a super unique body. I think there's never really a point where you're like, oh, this sounds like off on this album. And what is it? Just everything about the album, I feel like it just meshes together very, very well. Even as I said before, as they were starting to adopt this little bit of a different sound, just as I said with Farewell to Kings, when they were starting to introduce keyboards and stuff like that. I think it's just a really great album all around, and I never feel like one certain idea overstays its welcome. I think it's just very greatly balanced throughout.
I've heard people say that I've heard in the past that there's not one bad song on this record, which in my opinion, that is all killer, no filler. That gives you balance right there.
For sure.
And that people can't pick a favorite song from this record because they like them all. So, I mean, I think that's, you know, even something like Different Strings, which was never played live and is you know, considered the cool down song on this, and probably the least popular, but people still love it. So Kira, I 100% agree. I think it's actually the shortest Rush album too, I believe.
Yeah, I think it's only like 33 minutes, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've always thought it's the most radio friendly album, definitely, that they made.
It's an interesting take. Okay.
Yeah.
I think
It's definitely
up there.
radio friendly, but you've also got some deep tracks and different strings was never played. But I agree with our admin Alex Galuki, shout out to him, that's probably one of Rush's most underrated songs of all time, and I think it's just absolutely
Which one?
beautiful
Different
song.
strings.
Different strings, and it's just so soothing, and it's such a different pace from Spirit of Radio and Free Will and Jacob's Ladder, but it just fits perfectly. And
It's much like
I don't
Madrigal
know.
or BUTV2.
Exactly.
Cool down songs that
Exactly.
are, yeah. Mhm.
There's just like something about it, even though it's just so like different. It almost just feels like it's just like so perfectly placed in that album, like it was meant to be. And I just absolutely love Permanent Waves. Mwah.
All right. Before we wrap, I do want to quickly talk about Power Windows because I think we are all in agreement that Power Windows is balanced as well. And I know that Mark and I had chatted prior about Power Windows being balanced, and I know that Kira had said to me or to the group prior to this that she was considering Power Windows as well. So let's briefly just talk about why we think Power Windows is balanced as a group, because I think we're kind of all in agreement that it is balanced. It's definitely balanced in terms of 4 songs on side 1 and 4 songs on side 2, because math. But I think I think I think the big money is the song that you're going to find on all the greatest hits albums. You'll find Mystic Rhythms on a few. I know it's on Rush Gold, which is also a greatest hits album. So if we're talking in terms of balance, well, then you've got a popular song at number 1 and a popular song at number 8. So there you go. There's your weighing. But in the middle, though, of this record, you've got Grand Designs, Manhattan Project, Marathon, Territories, Middletown Dreams, and Emotion Detector. Every single one of the songs in this record, other than Emotion Detector, were played live. That was Emotion Detector, unfortunately, was never played live, but Emotion Detector rocks too. You've got Historical Song and Manhattan Project. A couple beloved tracks here in Marathon and Middletown Dreams, Territories too. And Grand Designs. I guess people like Grand Designs too. But I think in my opinion, there's not one song here that stands out above the rest as being way better than any other songs. They're all really solid tracks. Mm-hmm. That's why I've always said that this is balanced. I kind of want to hear what you guys think on this one too.
Yeah, I agree on that. Just going through the album, like I'm looking at the track list right now. I do agree with what you say about like one song like doesn't stand over all of them. I have my own personal favorites. I love Middletown Dreams, Emotion Detector, songs like that. But yeah, I really think that the whole album, I mean, it just works. Like it's almost like a straight line. Like there's not really a point where I'm like when I listen through the album as a whole, I'm not like, oh, I'm less interested in listening to this. Like there's songs on certain Rush albums when I go through them in a row, like I'm like, you guys know that I'm really into Test for Echo, but I will admit there's points in an album where I'm like, I'm not really feeling this one at the moment. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like low points and stuff like that. Right. I don't really feel that with this album. I can listen to this album front to back and be as enthused the whole way through.
So back to my point on the big money or Mystic Rhythms, the big money primarily though, because the big money was on all the greatest hits albums. It's the Power Windows representative for the greatest hits albums in a way. But in my opinion, you just as easily could have put Manhattan Project, Marathon, Territories, or Mystic Rhythms, maybe even Middletown Dreams,
for sure,
in the place of that, and you wouldn't even have noticed, because they're all solid. So that's another argument that I think could be made.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I'm looking at right now on the Googles, I'm looking at the amount of time the song takes up. I'm sorry.
Which one?
And Power Windows. Like I'm looking at the song times.
Oh,
that's what it's called. I can't talk today. And I'm noticing that all of them are between like 5 minutes and 7 seconds and 6 minutes and 21 seconds. So they're almost
that's a good point
close
too.
To the same length. And It's really interesting because it seems like there are different themes in each song, but at the same exact time, you can definitely see similarities. Like Middletown Dreams and Emotion Detector definitely are very similar in terms of like, you know, like the theme of like human desires and emotions. But to be honest, I do have my favorites with this album, like Mr. Rhythms, Love, 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 top 5 Rush songs. But also like nothing like really stands out. They're all very like equal. No, that's so basic, but they're just like all like equal songs. It is that like straight line or like a vertical pole. It's just when I think of balanced, I think Power Windows, the ultimate balanced Rush album of all time.
Right.
Thanks, Math.
Mark, anything you want to add?
No, I mean, I agree with everything you guys have said. I mean, we sort of got into it a little bit last night. That would have been an easy pick for me for the most balanced album. And, you know, it contains Middletown Dreams, which Ryder mentioned he loves that song. It's one of my favorite Rush songs out of the entire catalog.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I wish that one, you know, kind of stood out more.
I think it could. That's the thing. I think any one of these songs could have been.
Yeah, honestly, like I have some buddies who like kind of casually listen to Rush, and most of them, like, I mean, they're whatever, their opinions vary, but they generally have a pretty similar opinion on Power Windows. Like they like it, but the songs that I hear from them as their favorites always change. Like I have a buddy who adores Manhattan Project, and I would agree with that too. I would think that Manhattan Project would appear on some greatest hits albums because that's the one I hear a lot of conversation about, just for the historical aspects of it and stuff like that. And then Marathon too, Mystic Rhythms, that kind of stuff. So I hear a lot of different opinions on like what people's favorite songs are, but they also share the same thing. Like this is a really solid album.
Right.
Yep. All right. Cool.
As they say, from first to last, this album is perfectly balanced.
Is that what they say? Is that how Marathon goes? That is true though. From top to bottom, from first song to last song, this Power Windows is all good tracks. All right. We can wrap there. Folks watching, feel free to let us know down in the comments what you think are some of the most balanced Rush records. Let us know if you agree or disagree with our picks personally, and give your reasons. And please subscribe to our channel, and like this video, and we'll see you next time on Rush Roundtable. Take care.
Bye.